Welcome back, Charger Dude 95. The Dream Season Football League 6 Dynasties Series begins on Thursday night. Primetime battle between the 90s Broncos and the 60s Jets. Denver has been dreadful this season at 0-3, and it didn't get much better in the first half, led by the two-headed monster of Emerson Boozer, number 32, and Matt Snell out of the Jets' backfield. New York leads at 9-0 at the break. Then Joe Namath throws two third-quarter interceptions to Darian Gordon of the Broncos. He brings this one back to across midfield, and that leads to John Elway's first touchdown pass of the season to Anthony Miller. Then he throws another one later in the third quarter to Rod Smith, and the Broncos humiliate the Jets in the second half and win their first game of the season. Denver is no longer the worst offense in the NFL, courtesy of their best game of the year in a 27-16 victory at the Jets. The 2010s Cardinals and the 2010s Panthers have been the shock of the league this season. The two teams had a combined one Super Bowl berth between the two dynasties, yet they're both 2-1. Adrian Wilson scoops up a Brandon LaFell fumble for a touchdown, but then Brandon LaFell overcomes that mistake by breaking tackles from the entire Arizona secondary and rips off a 66-yard touchdown. That was a thing of beauty from LaFell. Meanwhile, the Arizona offense, not quite as beautiful throughout the course of today's game. They go scoreless as a unit this afternoon. Drew Stanton, who emerged as the starter in favor of the healthy Carson Palmer, he throws an incompletion there on fourth down. Christian McCaffrey is hurt, joining the laundry list of injuries for the Panthers. Meanwhile, for Arizona, when they visit the Jets next week, they will have Carson Palmer as their starting quarterback again. Speaking of NFL backups, Redskins runner Joe Washington begins the second quarter with this 68-yard dazzling touchdown run. It would just be the beginning of an onslaught on the ground for the host Redskins. Riggins scores his league-leading fifth touchdown run of the season, and Washington is part of that crowded NFC East with a record of 2-2. Since the opening day win to Cleveland, the Ravens are in a free fall, losing 3 straight games. For many fans of the DSFL, you would know that the Pittsburgh Steelers are an absolute circus in so many games. Terry Bradshaw's numbers are not good at all, and it got worse in the third quarter of this game as he throws a pick-6 to Eddie Robinson. That is now 9 giveaways for this quarterback and the Steelers' offense this year. Frank Wycheck makes a beautiful catch in the back right corner of the end zone, and the Steelers, with a last-ditch effort late in the game, are denied on a 4th and goal. Pittsburgh this season has 2 incredible wins and 2 blowout losses. The Tennessee Titans are 3-1 to begin the year. The 2000s Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the very little surprise, have the best defense in the DSFL 6. But what has been shocking is that they are a relatively dominant offense this year, led by Brad Johnson. The quarterback throws his 3rd touchdown pass in 4 games. That is to Keyshawn, who reels in his second over 2 Chargers defenders, and Tampa late in the first quarter leads at 7-0. Hadel leads the league in passing yards. Not much of a shock there, but he throws an interception to Brian Kelly here. Chargers gain just 33 yards rushing for the game. We're tied at 10 of the fourth quarter. Then Warwick Dunn, who is in for the injured Mike Allstott, who will miss this game and next week's game at Chicago. He takes the lead, and then Hardy Nickerson with a beautiful catch wins the game for the Bucs. Tampa is now 3-1, and if the New Orleans Saints lose later today at unbeaten Detroit, then the Bucs are the new leaders in the NFC South. Well, I forgot to mention until now, but if you haven't noticed, this is Color Rush Week, or Retro Week. So these teams are putting together their Color Rush uniforms. The Seahawks have this fluorescent light green mixture, which is, it's okay. I don't think it's the best uniform. I don't know if you guys do. I'll have a poll on Facebook after this one is complete as to the uniform you think is the best. But a wacky fourth quarter features an injury to Brian Greasy. He breaks his collarbone and will miss the next 5 weeks. That is a brutal loss for Miami, but the Dolphins do have a man in Earl Morrall who played most of the season in their unbeaten 1972 run. Earl Morrall, he'll start next week at San Francisco. He is certainly capable of taking over for the Dolphins. Meanwhile, Russell Wilson goes down for the Seahawks, and he will miss significant time, so Tarvaris Jackson will be the new starter for Seattle next Sunday. Torn labrum, Russell Wilson, part of a laundry list for the Seahawks. They are quickly becoming one of the most injury-ravaged teams in the league. but they are the 10's Seahawks, 4-0 this year. Well, the lore of the Dream Bowl 2 and Dream Bowl 4 champion Bears is quickly fading. They are the worst team in the league right now at 0-3. The 1940 Chicago Bears, led by Hall of Famer Sid Luckman, will come out with a fight in the first half today. 2 touchdown passes for Luckman, one to Ken Kavanaugh and the other to Ray McLean on a long one late in the first half for the Bears. But then the 2 defensive backs for the Bears here on the left-hand side on a fourth quarter run from Edgerrin James run right past them. I mean, what are they doing? They might as well just run off the field. Ranked 3rd in the league in yards, Edgerrin James has 409 yards this season. Luckman coughs up this ball, and then the Bears would have a nightmare fourth quarter. There's Joseph Adai with another touchdown. The Colts, now at 3-1, have 391 yards of offense on the road in their blowout win. Well, it's not often I bring out the clown music as winless Jacksonville battles winless Cincinnati. Just sit back and watch the onslaught for the Jags. Ironically, in the 2 times the Jags and the DSFL have played the Bengals, it's looked like this on both occasions. Boomer Esiason coughs up 2 critical turnovers in the first few minutes of the game, and Mark Brunell was brilliant for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He finds Kyle Brady there, and then Brunell goes deep here late in the first half. Look at those numbers. It's one of the greatest performances we have ever seen by a Jaguar quarterback. 330 yards and 2 touchdowns. Fred Taylor is in as well. Wow. This was an absolute nightmare for the Bengals from the start, and the 1990s Jags humiliate Cincy to win their first game of the season. I don't know if you can recover if you're the Bengals after a game this bad. 40s Browns and the 90s Cowboys, of course, Dallas winning 3 Super Bowls. This is a dynasty that we very easily can see with a deep run in the regular season and the playoffs. The playmaker catches this Cowboy touchdown to give Dallas the lead at the half, 7-6. But then Otto Graham puts together a 4.5-minute long drive and caps it off with this touchdown to Dante Lavelli. Browns lead at 12-7. The backup to Emmitt Smith is Curvin Richards, the product out of Alabama. The Cowboys are back in the lead. Then Graham's pass on 3rd down is dropped here. That would wind up being a major momentum swing in the game. Emmitt Smith goes over the shoulder. One of the catches of the year for a running back. And the Cowboys lead it late in the game, 22-19. Troy Aikman, I mean, he wouldn't get hurt for more than just the game on this run, but I don't understand what he's doing taking off like that in a read option. Dallas is 3-1 to start the year. Well, the DSFL can be a pretty crazy place, and between the 10's Saints, who won 1 Super Bowl throughout their dynasty, and the 50s Lions, who garnered 3 world championships in the 50s, these are good dynasties, but not necessarily the greatest dynasties on paper of all time. Dave Middleton, part of unbeaten Detroit, against unbeaten New Orleans in a battle of 3-0, put them in the red zone, and then Lane on 1st and goal coughs up a fumble forced by Charles Grant. Penalty is on the Lions, so the Saints knock away the Lions' chances for points in the red zone. Then in the 4th quarter, Lane, back in Saints territory, throws a pick of the 5 to Tracy Porter, and New Orleans denies them points yet again. That would be an important part of the game, as the Saints will wind up with the short drive going in for the score with Pierre Thomas, and then Detroit on 4th and 17 with Bobby Lane coming into the game with 5 touchdown passes. He would have none today against a quote-unquote good defense. I mean, New Orleans has been top 6 in the league all year on defense. That is incredibly surprising. So the Saints are now 4-0, and then on Monday night next week, they play host to the 1-3 Chargers, so they may go 5-0 to start the season, but we'll see. The 1970s Vikings were led offensively by one of the greatest running backs in team history. He retired as the greatest runner in terms of yards in Minnesota history. That's Chuck Foreman, the Pro Bowl product out of Miami. He scores his 3rd touchdown run of the season here to put the Vikings back in the game. Town 10-0 early against the Houston Oilers. Vikings come all the way back with a touchdown catch from John Gilliam. Then Marshall brings down George Blanda. Minnesota kicks another field goal. Then Houston, in a brutal second half, are knocked away again by Jeff Seaman. And the Vikings come back to win the game and are now just a game out of 1st in the NFC North with a record of 2-2, just behind the Lions at 3-1 with a 17-10 road win. The 2000s Rams have been nowhere near the greatest show on turf, coming into the game ranked 20th in offense. Ernie Conwell's fourth quarter touchdown puts the Rams in front 14-8. Giants desperate of a comeback. With a touchdown, they win the game, and Phil Simms converts this 4th and 3. 4th and 10 with just a few seconds left. Bobby Johnson dropped it. It looked very close, like a catch at least, then a fumble. Fletcher knocks it away. He has been remarkable all season. Rams win their first game of the season, and it wasn't all that pretty. 14-8 for St. Louis, who are at the Redskins next Sunday. These two teams met in back-to-back AFC Championship games to begin this Dream Season series. In fact, the Raiders all-time in the DSFL are 3-0 against the Bills, and they would desperately need another win today to avoid an 0-4 start to the season. Fred Biletnikoff rips off an incredible catch and run to begin the game, 37 yards for the Hall of Famer out of Florida State, and he would cap the drive with a Mike Siani touchdown. Raiders lead at 10-0, but the league's leading rusher, Thurman Thomas, begins the game with an incredible run, and Buffalo would score a touchdown from there. The Snake throws to Cliff Branch, his second of 3 touchdowns on the day. Raiders lead it 24-14, but Jim Kelly would commit an absolute barrage of turnovers in the second half. This to the Trojan out of USC. Skip Thomas leads to a Raiders score from Clarence Davis, not from Mark Van Egan. He's out for the next 6 games with an upper arm fracture. Bills with another turnover in the red zone in early the fourth quarter. Then Reed on 4th and 12 coughs it up, forced by Jack Tatum, and the Raiders recover to dominate Buffalo in the second half and win their first game of the season, and not a moment too soon for the 70s Raiders. From the making of this broadcast, Patrick Mahomes is still playing, but he may go down 10, 15, 20 years from now as the greatest quarterback of all time. He throws for 317 yards today against the 2010's New England Patriots. Meanwhile, in the fourth quarter, Tom Brady avoids a shutout by firing this 4th down score from 15 yards to Brandon LaFell, but the Patriots offense didn't do much more than that. Incredible catch from Brandon LaFell as Kareem Hunt seals it with this 3rd and inches touchdown run. It's his first of the year. Patrick Mahomes has thrown 6 touchdown passes on the season, and the Chiefs are 4-0. But Kansas City has a pivotal AFC West showdown next week as they are back at Arrowhead to battle the 70s Oakland Raiders. Philly would fall out of first place in the NFC East behind Dallas with a loss today to San Francisco. And for the first time this year, Montana has a touchdown pass, and that's to Jerry Rice. He wasn't much of a celebrator, but it's been too long since he's found the end zone, so go ahead and celebrate with whatever dance that was. Jim Castiglia fumbles, forced by Ronnie Lotz, and how about let's do that again. Run it back, Montana from 18 to Rice, and he does it with one hand. Incredible catch, 9 for 118 and 2 scores in the game for the Hall of Fame receiver in Jerry Rice. Then the 49ers would put the capper to this one. Tommy Thompson with the 5th sack of the year from right, coughs it up, recovered by Romanowski for a score. San Francisco stays in second in the NFC West, just behind Seattle with the win today. They're now 3-1. Philly is 3-1 as well, and are just behind Dallas in the NFC East. And who can forget about arguably the greatest dynasty of them all, the 1960s Packers star, finds his man Boyd Dowler for a touchdown. Packers only lead at 10-7, courtesy of 2 turnovers in the game. And then Matt Ryan goes deep to Julio Jones, and the Falcons take the lead. Then the 3rd turnover, this in the fourth quarter, is the Deion Jones to seal it for the 10's Atlanta Falcons. The Packers, in desperate need of answers right now, will have a bye next week. That is a big, big deal for the Green Bay Packers. They go into that bye at 1-3. There's a look at the top performers of the week. On the top right, Mark Brunell was brilliant to put the Jaguars in the win column for the first time this year. Games around the league, there's a look at all of them for Week 4. The scores for Week 5 are pending next Sunday. Make sure to stay tuned here on the Charger 95 channel. And here's a look at the standings across the league. Steelers lead it in the North at 2-2. And for the AFC West coming up here, the only unbeaten team in the AFC overall is the Kansas City Chiefs. They're one of only 3 teams above 500 in the AFC. Saints are unbeaten in the NFC South at 4-0. Eagles and Cowboys are tied for the lead, but Dallas holds the tiebreaker right now. Seahawks are unbeaten as well. There's a look at the top offense in the Saints in the NFL. Breeze, Thomas, and all the other leaders in the DSFL 6. Week 5 is coming up next Sunday. This is Charger Dude 95.